Chris Mackowski of Emerging Civil War. I'm almost in my own backyard. I'm just down the street, about a half a mile, on the Spotsylvania / Chancellorsville battlefield. It is May 15th, 1864, and the United States colored troops are going to engage with Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia for the very first time. If we flash back a year to the Battle of Chancellorsville in May of 1863, we're going to have the Union 12th Corps march from my right to my left, get punched in the nose, and then called back by Joe Hooker to fall from my left to my right. So this is going to be twice fought over ground, and it's currently being preserved by the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust. I'm going to bring on my good friend Terry Rensel, Executive Director of the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust and our preservation editor at ECW, to tell us about the preservation work going on right here.
Chris, in May of 1864, during the Spotsylvania campaign, the 23rd USCTs fought on this ground, the first time that African-American troops engaged in battle north of the James River. On that morning, the 2nd Ohio Cavalry was down Catharpin Road, in my front left, camped around the Piney Branch Church. Thomas Rosser's Confederate cavalry chased them away from there, all the way up Catharpin Road here to the intersection with the Plank Road. The Ohioans crossed the road. Rosser's men were in this area to my left. The 23rd USCTs get ordered to come up here to help the 2nd Ohio Cavalry. They come down the Plank Road, which is over here to my right, and as they reach this area, they deploy in line of battle and start firing on the Confederate cavalry across the Catharpin Road. At that time, there's a small skirmish that goes on for a few minutes. Rosser and his men start falling back to where they came. The 2nd Ohio pursues them, and at the end of that fighting, the 2nd Ohio is back camped around the Piney Branch Church.
Why is it this area important to protect in the first place, and how is it that they end up, of all units, getting the USCT?
The Army of the Potomac was using the Orange Turnpike as a supply route. As they were advancing from the wilderness to Spotsylvania, and during the fighting in Spotsylvania, this was all the rear area. And the wagon trains were staged around the Chancellor Crossroads, where the fighting of May 1863 took place. The 23rd USCT were on guard duty and escort duty, escorting the wagon trains back and forth between here and Belle Plaine, moving wounded, bringing up supplies. So all this was rear area, and Rosser and his men were sent on a reconnaissance to see exactly what was going on in this area, if the Army of the Potomac was here, and in what kind of force.
This area also saw action in that 1863 campaign.
Yes, on May 1st, 1863, the Union 12th Corps comes up from the Chancellor intersection area and deploys here across the Alrich Farm. At the time, the farm was over 500 acres. A little more than half that was under cultivation or cleared, so they had plenty of room to deploy in this area, and the picket line was across the Catharpin Road. The 111th Pennsylvania was deployed as the picket line. When the 12th Corps gets the orders to fall back, the 111th was to be the rear guard, and Corporal John C. Ellis of the 111th Pennsylvania writes after the battle in a letter to his nephew 3 weeks later, "The order was given to fall back to Chancellorsville on the double quick, and our regiment was to cover the retreat of the balance of General Thomas Kane's brigade. The other regiments were so slow in moving, the Rebs were upon us before we knew it. So by the time we got to the Plank Road, which is behind me over here, the Rebs sharpshooters began to pick off our men. The bullets flew like hail all around our heads. One of the bullets found Ellis." He continues, "The first thing I knew, I was laying on my back in a ditch along the side of the road. Odds are the ditch along the Plank Road here behind me and to my right. He's left for dead, gets captured by the Confederates who are advancing up through here, is treated by them, and within 2 weeks he's back with his unit and in hospital within the Union lines. He eventually gets transferred to the Veteran Reserves and survives until around 1880.
So, Terry, tell me about the property you guys are trying to preserve here.
This is actually the first of what we plan at CVBT to be several acquisitions of the historic Alrich Farm. This first parcel is 3 acres, bordered by Catharpin Road to my left, what's now the old plank road behind me, and going off to our right. It's a relatively narrow piece of property. It has a modern house and a couple of other modern structures on it. And if you know what to look for when you're on this piece of property, there's a low space in the yard in front of the modern house. Grass is growing in a different shade of green, and we believe that that's where the original house stood. We believe that the structure behind me here, which is covered in a brick facade, may be a witness building. We've had some historic preservation folks come and look at it, and it's built using construction methods that were around as early as 1820 and were no longer used by the time you get to 1880. Original house was built on this site in 1821, so the dating of what we believe might be a smokehouse fits in with that time period. Also behind it, there's a couple of red cedars that we believe may also have been here at the time of the fighting in both 1863 and 1864. The parcel goes back along the modern old plank road, the historic plank road, about 3 acres in total, and our long-term plans are to add another 27 acres to this purchase with the cooperation of the landowner we bought this piece from. We're currently raising $100,000 to cover the costs of the acquisition and the work that we need to do prior to being able to apply for both state and federal grants to help finish paying for the purchase of this property.
So if people want to support the acquisition and the work that you guys are doing here, how can they do that?
You can do that by going to our website, www.cvbt.org. You can look on our saved properties list. You will see it there listed as the 23rd USCT track under the Spotsylvania Battlefield tab. You can also learn everything else that we're up to at CVBT, including our annual conference and our history, right there, 24/7, 365, cvbt.org.
I want to thank Terry Rensel and the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust for giving us access to this property, the Alrich Farm. You can help make this a reality, preserving it forever, and the incredible stories that took place here. Go to cvbt.org. On behalf of Terry Rensel and CVBT, I'm Chris Mackowski for Emerging Civil War. We'll see you online and on the battlefield. Terry, is this a witness cinder block?
Chris, for the right amount of donation, it can be.